What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. I am Ken, here today to talk about the Rambo franchise. I'm going to review and talk about every single film in this Rambo franchise. I got these beautiful steelbooks right here that a subscriber sent me, Anthony Mastrani, so thank you so much. Look at this thing. Look at this thing. It is so beautiful. This one came out a couple of years ago. I didn't get a chance to pick it up, so I had a subscriber send it to me. And yeah, this review is for you, man. I'm going to dedicate it to you for sending me these steelbooks. You're definitely the inspiration for this and Stallone month. So April is Sylvester Stallone month on the Mid-Level Media channel. I'm trying to watch and review as many Stallone films as I possibly can this month. And growing up, I was a huge Rocky fan, a big Stallone fan, but I never got a chance to check out the Rambo films until recently. I think I watched the first one in 2019 before Last Blood came out. So I watched both of those a couple of years ago, or I think like 3 years ago by now. And I rewatched them all again in 4K here. And yeah, we're going to talk about all these movies. I'm going to tell y'all what's my favorite, my least favorite, do a little ranking at the end of it, and talk about the transfers as well. But before we get into it, I want to ask that if you are not yet a subscriber of the Mid-Level Media channel, what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button for more great content. Do all kinds of stuff on this channel, mostly centered around the world of physical media, new 4K and Blu-ray reviews, collection unboxing videos, Blu-ray hunting videos, just all kinds of physical media stuff. You like that kind of stuff. You like Blu-rays and movies and keeping this physical media thing alive, hit the subscribe button. Also, be sure to like this video and comment down below, guys, as many times as you want. What's your favorite Rambo film? What's your least favorite? Give me your ranking. Let's have a conversation on the Rambo films in the comment section below. And also turn on those bell notifications for all future videos. So let's get into this. We got a lot of films to cover. And yeah, I'm just going to say off the top, I enjoyed the hell out of all of these movies. I enjoyed the hell out of all of them. I don't think there was one that I did not enjoy on some level. Yes, there were some that were weaker than others, but I was pleasantly surprised by all of these movies, just how much I was entertained. Let's get into the first one. Let's talk about First Blood. First Blood. Look at this beautiful steelbook right here. This is so freaking cool. But First Blood was directed by Ted Kotcheff, who was a name that I wasn't really familiar with. He directed Weekend at Bernie's, and that was like the most notable film in his filmography that I saw. But this is also based on a book by David Morrell. The book was written in 1972. It was also called First Blood. So this wasn't meant to be some kind of like big budget, like action franchise. This movie was not written that way. It was very much dealing with the post-traumatic stress of being in Vietnam, and just some of those themes with that of a soldier coming home to nothing. So what you get from this movie is something that feels drastically different from every other Rambo film in the franchise, and it's the first one. So that honestly feels a little weird when you watch this one and then you're comparing it to all the other ones, because it is very different. Now, in the last 20 to 30 minutes, it does kind of turn into that Rambo film that you know and love, but he does not kill anybody in this movie. He sets a bunch of traps, he injures a lot of people, but he doesn't technically kill anybody in this movie, which is a stark contrast to what you get in the later films, him just mowing people down, splitting them in half. So and yeah, I think that's why this is the one of all these films that could be considered a masterpiece. I personally do think it's a masterpiece. I thought this was incredible. When I watched it the first time, I was like, okay, it didn't really live up to the hype for me. I was like, this is fine. This is a cool, like, little story, little character study, a commentary on PTSD, and also like a social commentary on just the state of America at the time when everybody came home from war, how they treated them like trash, and they didn't really know what to do after that. I thought Stallone just portrayed that army military character so incredibly well. He's amazing in this movie. But yeah, I love this movie. I really did. It hit me a way different way this time. Stallone's performance, especially when you get to that end sequence with him, and Colonel Troutman coming in and talking to him, and just that really emotional scene and moment, that whole monologue he gives. It's just fantastic. Like, he's so great in this movie. I don't know if he was nominated for an Oscar. I didn't really check for that. I don't think he was. But he absolutely deserved to be. He's great in this movie. I would put this against like Rocky and some of his other better performances of his career. Yeah, this is definitely like top 3 that I've seen in his career as far as performance. I thought he was so great in this movie. And another thing I really loved about this movie is just how quickly it escalates. So Stallone comes into town. He's trying to find his old buddy from Vietnam. He finds out he died. So he's all depressed and out of sorts, and he's walking into town, and that's when the sheriff, Brian Dennehy, comes to confront him. and, you know, says, hey, you're a drifter. We don't really want your kind in this town. You need to get out. And Stallone's just like, hey, I'm just looking for something to eat. And he's like, well, I could take you to another diner, you know, 30 minutes away. So he drives him out of town, and then Stallone just walks back into town, and then it just escalates from there. So he gets arrested, and everybody in the police station is being a real dick to him. And, you know, he escapes, and then they go after him, and there's helicopters that are involved, and the military comes in. It just escalates so quickly over such a minor disagreement. And Stallone, Rambo just says it best. He's like, when he looks at him, he's in the cop car. He's like, I just wanted something to eat. He's like, I just wanted to get something to eat. But what I love about this movie is Brian Dennehy is fantastic in this movie as the sheriff, Sheriff Teasel. He's so good in this film. So good in this film as the, I guess, quote unquote antagonist. But again, this goes into what I love about this movie. You can view him as the antagonist because you know that Rambo is a sympathetic character. You know he has some compassion to him because he was upset about his friend. He's also a badass Green Beret that's gonna mess stuff up if you're given the chance. But you can totally understand where the sheriff is coming from. He doesn't want him in his town. He doesn't know who he is. It could be a threat to his people. So he's doing his job as the sheriff and trying to get him out, trying to de-escalate the situation. So you can totally understand it and see it from his viewpoint. Yeah, he's being a real dick about it, and so is everybody else at the police station. But they're kind of just doing their job, and Rambo's not exactly being the most cooperative you know, person either. So you view Rambo as the hero of the story as you go through it, but you can also see it from everybody else's side, even all the way to the end when they're trying to get him. He's blowing up the town, and the colonel still comes in and he's like, look, call your men off. This guy is dangerous. I know. I trained him. He is a Green Beret. He will take this entire town off. And Brandon, he's like, he's not going to take down 200 military soldiers. He's like, yeah, he kind of is. So I love how everything escalates so quickly. I love how you can see it from both sides. And there's no real like villain in this movie. It's just two viewpoints, two clashing interests and viewpoints. And you can just see it from both sides. It's phenomenal the way that this story is told, the way that it's written. It's such a great movie. I absolutely love this film from beginning to end. It's so engrossing. It's not very long. It's only like an hour and a half. But they really just tell a great story in that time and really inject some really great themes and some important themes that I imagine were super important at the time. But Sylvester Stallone is just so good in this movie. And again, Brian Dennehy, he's fantastic as well. Richard Crenna as Troutman is also awesome. He would go on in some of the other films to be even better, I think, as a character. But in this movie, he's great and definitely does his job of just like selling Rambo as the badass that he is and just making him feel like way more of a threat. I also love, I don't know if I talked about this, but the wilderness survival aspect of this is what I love about this movie the most. Just the fact that he goes off into the woods and he's creating all these traps and stuff out of nothing. He's cooking for himself. He's trying to survive out there. I love the initial sequence also. It just feels so real and raw and realistic, but I love the initial sequence where they're chasing him up the mountain and Brian Dennehy's in the police cruiser and it just kind of flips when he hits a rock off and it just kind of lands on its top. It just, the way that it's filmed, it's not cinematic at all. It just feels like real. It just feels like real life, like you're there and you're just watching this car kind of tip over to the ground. There's no explosion. There's nothing movie-like or cinematic at all about it. And that's honestly like how the entire movie is. So I love the way this movie's filmed, the way it's written, the way it's performed. It's a masterpiece. I got to give it a 5 out of 5. I absolutely love this movie. I can see myself returning to it very often, and honestly might move up to being one of my favorite movies of all time. So absolutely love First Blood. Getting into the transfer, it looked amazing. This is honestly probably the best 4K transfer of all the 5 of the Rambo films. I just love it when he first walks into town. You can see that the greens in his jacket, it looks so good. It looks so sharp. Facial details fantastic. It's just that wilderness setting with all the greens and stuff with the leaves and the grass just looks great. There's some really incredible night sequences with him by a fire. All that stuff looks good. There's not a ton of blood in this movie, but there's a little bit of blood, which really adds in with that HDR. So all of these transfers are in Dolby Vision and HDR10. And they also have Dolby Atmos as far as audio, just going into that. Again, I've said it before, but I don't have that Dolby Atmos set up, so I didn't really listen to it like that. Just listening to it on a soundbar. So Rambo First Blood, it's a perfect movie. It's a 5. It's a 5 out of 5. I absolutely love the movie. So let's talk about let's talk about Rambo First Blood Part 2. So this is the sequel to First Blood. So it definitely has some expectations to live up to. Now, one thing I'll say, this is a very different movie from First Blood. This is way more of that action-packed, balls to the wall Rambo film. He's running around, he's shooting people with bows and arrows, explosions. It's more of that Rambo film that I feel like a lot of people think of when they think of John Rambo, Stallone as the character. So it is that more traditional Rambo, I would say. But yeah, First Blood Part 2, directed by George P. Cosmatos, who also directed Cobra, which I already reviewed, and Tombstone, which I reviewed earlier this year for Western Month. So George P. Cosmatos, definitely an accomplished director, does a great job at just staging some set piece moments in this movie. Again, Sylvester Stallone is this character. He embodies him completely. I just love his performance as it. Even when you get on that boat, just that iconic line, to survive war, you got to become war. I love that. I've heard it since I was a kid because they played it in Gremlins 2 right before Gizmo puts on the headband and shoots the bow and arrow and stuff. But I thought this movie was a ton of fun. It's not as emotionally heavy as First Blood is, but it still, has some of those moments. And I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a moment in this movie involving the girl that I was just like, why would you do that? I get it's a part of his character. He has to go through loss, but that was a little bit too much for me. I don't know if I enjoyed that that much. But yeah, this is Rambo. He's not in America in this movie. He's back in Vietnam. He's in the jungle. So there's a lot of sequences of him. There's a lot of really cool stealth sequences in this movie where he's got to try to get in and infiltrate and save people and bring them back out. And there's some really cool moments, some really good gunplay, some awesome explosions. There's one where he just pops up with a rocket launcher and takes his helicopter out, which was absolutely awesome. He shoots somebody in the head from like halfway across a canyon or a waterfall. It was something like a field, pops them in the head and their head explodes, their whole body explodes. It's awesome. So there's some really cool moments in this movie. I enjoyed it. I like the team up of him and I think her name is Co, but it's played by Julia Nixon. I thought she was really good, a really cool sidekick, just kind of like a heroic female badass character in this movie. She even saves him at one point. You even have Kreese from Karate Kid in this film. He plays a smaller part, but he is in the movie. And this would take place, I think this one was filmed a year after Karate Kid. Richard Crenna's back as Colonel Trotman. I really like him being back, and I love their relationship kind of being a little bit more solidified in this film. You kind of get, the importance, because they didn't really get a chance to interact as much in First Blood until the very end of this movie. So you have more of that relationship dynamic between the two of them in this movie. So I really enjoyed that. So First Blood, I really enjoyed it. Again, action-packed, high-octane, just balls to the wall action, and just set in that Vietnam setting. Looked amazing in 4K. I got to give that one a 4 out of 5. So let's move in to Rambo 3. This is the one that going into it, this is an awesome cover, by the way. This is one going into it that I'd always heard that this is the weakest of the franchise. At least that's before Last Blood came out. I feel like people say that's the weakest now, but always heard this is one of the weaker ones of the franchise. And while I might agree with that to an extent, at least of these first three, this is a hell of a good time. I really enjoyed this movie. And I also just really enjoyed the team up between John Rambo and Colonel Trotman in this movie. Like I said, you had that relationship a little bit more solidified in the second one, but it's really awesome in this one because they actually team up and they're actually fighting together, which is awesome. Which is the whole storyline for this one is, Troutman tries to get him to come in and do this job, and he doesn't want to do it. He's just happy with his life now, doesn't want to go back into war. So Troutman takes matters into his own hands, goes into Afghanistan, gets captured, and then Rambo has to go and save him because, of course, it's Troutman. He's not going to let him go out like that. So he goes in to rescue him. Once he rescues him, then it's just full on them two together, just taking people out, shooting machine guns, rocket launchers and stuff. This has a hell of a lot of really fun action. This is also probably the most jacked that Stallone is in this entire franchise. Like, he is ripped in this movie. Like, he just looks like that full-on Rambo. He's got the machine guns, the freaking bullets, all over, ammo all over his chest. He's just got, like I said, right there on that cover, that rocket launcher. He's rocket launching everything. It's awesome. There's a lot of great explosions, a lot of cool scenes with the helicopter. There was a cool scene with the helicopter in Rambo 2 as well, I believe. But there's some other cool ones in this one with the helicopter. A lot of cool, like, aerial stuff. So yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of Rambo 3. I thought it was badass. It wasn't as good as Rambo 2. It's probably a little bit notched down because it doesn't have that emotional hook to it. Like I said, the second one kind of isn't as heavy as the first one, but the character of Rambo is still there. He's just injected in more, action-packed circumstances and situations. But there is some heavy stuff that does happen in Rambo 2. There's not much of that at all that goes on in Rambo 3. It's pretty straightforward, just action-packed fun. But I really enjoyed this movie. I liked Rambo 3. I would give that a 3.5 out of 5. But one thing that I'll say about Rambo 3 that I probably didn't like as much as the first two was the fact that you don't really get that wilderness survival stuff that you got in the first two, like with him being in the wilderness in the first one, and then in the jungle in the second one. So you don't get that like wilderness survival aspect to it. In Afghanistan, everything's just kind of out in the open because it's in the desert. Now you do get some stuff with him trying to hide out in the caves and down the ditches and in the trenches and stuff. So let's get into Rambo 2008. So this is the one that a lot of people were telling me is one of the best. It's one of the most gruesome, action-packed. This is one that's probably the most like a horror movie of the entire franchise, just in terms of like visuals and just some of the grotesque imagery in this film. So this is the only one that was directed by Sylvester Stallone himself. So he directed numerous Rocky movies, but this is the only one of the Rambo franchise that he actually directed. So that's definitely interesting. And right off the top, the direction in this movie is very different than the other ones. The other ones do feel, I did say the first one felt a little bit more raw and realistic, while as the second and the third one feel much more big blockbuster cinematic. But this one, direction-wise, just feels a little bit more realistic and raw and almost like a documentary in some parts. They have images from TVs playing, but it's also like real dark and gritty, just real down and dirty and dingy is the cinematic quality of this one. But it's still great the way that he directed it. But you could tell that Stallone was really going for that super ultra realistic horrors of war approach. And this is honestly something that I'm very conflicted on with this movie. Like, there's some scenes in the beginning where you actually see kids. And when I say kids, I'm not talking about 12, 13-year-old. You actually see kids that are like 5, 6, 7 getting shot up in the back while they're trying to escape and get away. That kind of stuff was a little bit, just being a father myself, like that kind of stuff was a little bit too much, a little bit hard for me to watch, almost borderline gratuitous in nature. I know some people's not going to have the same reaction to that, but I just didn't need it, and I didn't think it was that necessary. Yes, I know kids die in war and stuff like that. That really happens. Stuff like that does really happen. I just don't need to see it. So I had a little bit of a problem with that. It only happens once, I believe, and it's in the beginning in that initial like attack sequence when they all get to that that camp and they're trying to help everybody after Stallone drops them off. So it only happens there, I believe. But after that, I was kind of like, I don't know if I get it, like it's super violent and I know it's supposed to be realistic, but I don't know if I'm on board for this kid killing imagery. It rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. And I don't really see that changing. So this one takes place in Thailand, and yeah, Rambo is a little bit older. Obviously, this is 20 years after Rambo 3, so it's an older Stallone, but definitely not as old as he is now. He can still go. You can tell he can still, keep up with everybody, but he's basically taken a group of mercenaries into war-torn Thailand, and they're trying to help him. They're like a Christian group. I found this group to be like, even the girl who's like trying to be his friend and stuff like that, trying to talk to him. First off, the actress, Julie Benz, not a very good actress. She wasn't very good in this movie. I much preferred Ko, his partner in the second one, to her. I'll say that. She's not a very good actress, but I found all these characters to be just painfully annoying. I did not like any of them, and I know that you're not supposed to like that one guy, but again, at the end, they kind of make him a little bit sympathetic and almost like you were supposed to like him because he's like a doctor and he's trying to help everybody. I just didn't really like any of those people. I thought they were all super annoying. And I do like John Rambo in this movie. I like Sly's portrayal as a character. Like I said, he's a little older. You can tell he is still broken from everything that's happened in his past. He's just kind of the strong, silent type. He's just standing there. He's taking crap from everybody. Because when he goes back in, he's like within a group of mercenaries. I did like all the mercenaries. I thought they were really cool and badass, and I like their camaraderie together, like with Rambo, because once they could tell that he could go and they saw him do some shit, like they were all in. They were like, all right, dude, we'll follow you or we're in. So I thought that was really cool. And again, it has some cool like stealth sequences, kind of reminiscent of Rambo First Blood Part 2. So I enjoyed the movie. The last 20 minutes are ultra violent to the max. It definitely delivered there. There are people splitting in half. When Stallone goes to that guy that's on the turret and he just straight cuts his head off with a machete, gets on the turret, starts mowing everybody down. It is super badass. The imagery is very violent. If you are squeamish in any way, you will not want to watch that part. You probably want to skip just to the end, but you probably shouldn't be watching this movie at all because the kid stuff is way worse than that. But yeah, all that stuff was super cool. Again, I don't know how I felt about the ending because like he gives her that look from across and it was like almost as if like he wanted to be romantically involved with her, but he knew that she was with that other guy, so he was just going to step aside. So yeah, I mean, this was supposed to be the finale of the franchise. And it kind of felt that way when it went off because at the end he goes back to his home in Arizona, which is where Last Blood picks up. And it did feel like that definitive ending. But yeah, I don't know. Something was missing. I want Rambo to find happiness. I just want him to find happiness. And he never does. So you don't ever get that that happy ending with Rambo because honestly it gets even worse. So Rambo, look, I like the movie. Aside from the kid killing stuff, I would give this as an actual movie probably the same as I gave Rambo 3. Probably a 3.5 out of 5. I don't think it's as good as Rambo 2 and certainly not as good as First Blood. So let's talk about Last Blood. So this is the one that I did watch a couple of years ago. I didn't really like this movie the first time I saw it. Again, the ending is awesome. The last 20 minutes when he's basically, it's like Home Alone, but with Rambo setting traps and stuff on his ranch. All that stuff's really cool, but again, I don't know. Going through this journey with Rambo, and this is completely personal, but I just want Rambo to find happiness and to be happy and to end up with everything being okay for him. And it starts off that way, like he's found some kind of a family. I don't know if that woman, to be honest, they don't really make it clear. Maybe they didn't. I wasn't paying attention. I don't know if that woman he's with that has the granddaughter is supposed to be like his wife or his love interest, romantic something, or if they're just living together, or if she's like supposed to be his mom. But they have to be close in age because Rambo's like 70 in this movie. She's honestly probably younger than him, but so yeah, I don't know if they were going for that. But anyway, he's in this family now and he's invited them to his ranch in Arizona to live. And, you know, there's the woman and then there's Yvette Monreal, who plays Gabriella, which is like his niece, which, like I said, is the granddaughter to the woman. And she wants to meet her father, so she goes to Mexico. She sneaks off, even though Rambo says, don't do it, don't go, it's dangerous. She gets captured by these sex traffickers. They're injecting her with heroin. He has to go and try to find her. He does, but he's too late. She ends up dying. Again, I'm sorry I'm spoiling everything. It's late in the reviews. I'm just trying to get through this. So yeah, she dies, and again, I don't know. I just felt it was too over the top. Like, did they really have to make her die? That whole scene with him and her in the car, I just don't like it. Again, it's emotional and everything, but she didn't have to die. Like, he could have still, like, she could have came back. She could have went to the hospital. The mom could have went with her. The grandma could have went with her. They could have been okay, and he could have still been pissed enough to want to kill all those people for doing that to that girl. She did not have to die. And then when he took them all out at the end, maybe he could have went to the hospital and then they could have been somewhat happy. Again, that girl's going to be messed up anyway, because she was probably raped 100 times and injected with like so much heroin that she's going to be addicted for the rest of her life. But she didn't have to die. She didn't have to die. You didn't have to take Rambo's family away again. So I just felt that was too over the top. But again, you get to the ending of this movie, it is completely awesome. It's just like Rambo 2008, to be honest. He's splitting people in half. There's blood flying everywhere. It's a complete awesome finale. I love when they all ride in the trip and the claymores go off and the whole thing. It's like napalm in its front yard. All that stuff is awesome. It does deliver. And I also love how it plays into the fact that he is a little bit older and he can't go physically like he used to be able to, so he has to set all these traps. But it also goes back to First Blood when he has to set a bunch of traps for them in that one as well. So I do like how it calls back to First Blood, but also it plays into the fact that he isn't as equipped physically anymore, so he has to rely on like laying traps and stuff to take all of these men out, because it kind of made it feel a little bit more realistic that a 75-year-old man would be able to take out like 30 of these young guys, young fit guys in this Mexican cartel. So yeah, I enjoyed Last Blood though. I will say that going through this entire complete journey of all the Rambo films did make me enjoy Last Blood a little bit more than I did the first time I watched this. So Last Blood, I will give a 3 out of a 5. So let's go into my ranking of the Rambo films. So in first place, well, should I start in first place? Let's start in last place. We'll go with Last Blood. We'll go with Last Blood as number 5. Honestly, this is the one. This is probably the toughest. Honestly, I'm going to go Rambo 2008, number 4. I'm going to go Rambo 2008, number 4. I'm going to go Rambo 3 because Rambo 3 is a ton of fun, and I really enjoy this movie, and I don't have to worry about, you know, kids getting shot up in that one. So I'll go Rambo 3 for number 3. I'll go Rambo 2 for number 2. I thought it was awesome. And I will go Rambo First Blood, or just First Blood. It's not Rambo, but First Blood is definitely number 1. This is a masterpiece. I love that movie. Definitely number 1. So I guess what I'm saying is it starts off with a masterpiece, and the franchise gets progressively worse as you go. But I still enjoyed all of them. Again, as a total, as a whole franchise, I really enjoyed watching all these movies. And I didn't discuss the transfers, I feel like, for any of the other ones. They all look good, but when you get into Last Blood, again, it's a recent film. This one honestly looked just as good on Blu-ray as it did on 4K. I didn't really notice too much of a difference because I do own the Blu-ray. I bought that one when it came out. And then First Blood Part 2 looked awesome. Again, in Vietnam jungle. So you get all those lush greens and everything. That one looked fantastic. The Afghanistan one looked really good. Thought that one looked good. Rambo 2008 looked really good. So yeah, all these transfers are awesome. Again, with Dolby Vision, you got Dolby Atmos, HDR10, the full works for all these. So yeah, thank you so much for sending me these steelbooks. I had a hell of a time with this franchise. I'm going to be honest. I really enjoyed watching all of these movies, and I got a new favorite movie of all time out of it. So I know you guys joke with me that I have like 85 movies in my top 20 of all time, but First Blood is the real deal. I enjoyed the hell out of it. So thank you guys for watching this very long review video. You guys know how I like to make videos, just very long and casual, and just kind of spewing out all my thoughts as disorganized as they are. So I appreciate you guys watching. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications, follow me on all my social media accounts. Those links are in the description, and we'll see you next time.